Okay, I'm making this instructional video for Northwest Zoo for installing the modified version of Label Connector for QuickBooks. So the MSI file I've got on record here, and we want to kind of get this synchronized, and please verify that this is what you show under Help and About for the existing computers. But this is what I've installed on my computer here for this demo, and we need to make sure that's the current revision that's running on the live computers there. So once you've got Label Connector installed, one of the first things you got to be concerned with is getting their label templates moved over. Okay, and the label templates on the older original computers are going to be stored, and we haven't modernized a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you, in our newer versions. So but basically, when you create a label design in Label Connector, it's going to put that label design at this path, okay, Label Connector, and then go into the template images list folder, and there'll be XML files in there, not this many, but you'll see XML files in there with their Petco and other XML files. And basically, you need to get these XML files placed into the same folder on the new computer. Okay, so that's kind of the file housekeeping that you need to do, and that should be the extent of what you have to do. The error that you're getting on the terminal services, as I mentioned in my previous email, is related to the RDP users file, which is a safeguard that we had in the past for other types of installations other than what they're doing at Northwest Zoo. So I don't like that it's interfering with what they're doing, but if I get in here, let's see, I just got to get to the folder again here. Okay, it's related to this file, okay, and all this is doing is safeguarding if this was installed on an RDP server and 10 people were logging in. This would track that and only allow one to log in unless we allow more than that. But this feature doesn't matter on your installation. But so from what I'm seeing, if you just install as the user that's going to use the software, it'll put the computer name with the user here in this file. And it should clean that up when the person closes the file and if a new user wants to use it. But in some cases, with security rights and everything, it's not cleaning this file up and removing this and managing the way it should. But all you have to do is just install the application as the user that's going to use it, and it should populate the username and the computer name in the file properly, and then eliminate that error. But what I can usually do is give full read rights to this folder, and it should manage that file properly. But it sounds like in your case, for some reason, it's not doing that. So I think if you just reinstall as the user that's going to use the program, it'll put the value in the file properly. Because I just experienced it here, and that's how I fixed it. I just uninstalled and reinstalled. I kind of intentionally modified the file to see what it would do, and it didn't clean it up properly. So just uninstall and then install as the user that's going to use the software, and it should remove that error. The other way to bring in their XML files is to go into the designer and use our import feature, and you can just select the XML file. So I suggest you set those XML files aside in a safe place for them so that they can then be imported into the software. And all this import feature, again, we've improved this dramatically in our newer versions, but all this import feature is doing is bringing the XML files and depositing them into that template images list folder for you. But you can do that manually as well. Okay, so that's the cleanup side with files. The settings that I have to touch when they do the setup are under, they're using invoices, I believe, to print the labels, and so you have to duplicate the settings that are set, not so much what you see on my screen here, but you have to look at what's set on the existing running computers, screenshot that, and document that okay, under the invoice settings screen, and make sure that on the new computers that these values, I believe we have to affect this value, I have to type a value into here, and I think I have to sync the fields and then select the field that's been put into the custom item fields in QuickBooks for the type of items to skip to not get labels, like labels yes, no. So Meredith is somewhat familiar with this, but if you duplicate this with what I've got on the live computers now under invoice settings and put the same settings in here, it should work fine. Again, I can kind of remote in and debug a lot of this. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on the road this afternoon, so I'm putting this together to help get you guys. It should get you 99% of the way there. So these are the things I have to touch. You know, on a new computer, there are some things you got to do with the Zebra printer drivers. You got to set the page size under printer properties and preferences to the 4x2 page size that they use on the Zebra printer driver, okay, or else it won't place the image properly on the label for them. So that's the area that. Now, one thing I've put in my email is this activation mechanism, we've since retired it. Their program's getting fairly old now. We need to kind of go ahead and just charge them a small fee to get them modernized onto our new licensing technology, and we'll just take the same project for them and make it so it can be licensed well into the future for them. I estimate I can do that for under $500 for them. I don't think that's unreasonable to kind of modernize this and ensure it goes well into the future for them, because they've been using this, believe it or not, for a number of years now, and it just needs to be updated from this regard. But for today, you can leave the trial installed, and if I'd like to get approval to go ahead with modernizing their licensing, if we do that, this will count down every day, but you can always just reinstall the program and this mechanism will start over again. Okay, it's very simplistic, but people don't want to have to reinstall these systems and reconfigure them, right? So so that's the way that works. So we don't have an extreme deadline with this. I think I can get the licensing update done in the next 14 days for them anyway, but to me that's the greatest concern, because again, you don't want to have to reinstall their software and reset those settings for them every 14 days, right? So we should do that. And then they use invoices, so there's a general setting in here, just a convenience setting where you set it to automatically default to the radio buttons being in the convenient location for them. Again, you can look at and take a screenshot of how this is set on their existing computers, so that you can get those radio buttons configured for them under settings for that as well. So I'm going to post this up on YouTube as a private video for you guys. I'm available over the phone at 630-207-3015, like all afternoon. I'm going to be in the car for 5 hours. So I've shown you all the stuff that I think you're going to need for anything I would do when I get on the computer. Things like font sizes, and when the page size is not lining up properly, again, you got to go into their Zebra printer and go into the device settings. Okay, and you go in and you set their page size. Now, I've been doing this for years with hundreds of people's computers. The best way to do it is to go into printer properties, go to advanced, printing defaults, page setup, and then I edit the, don't create a new document size. I edit the one that says user next to it, because that tends to be the one that defaults when Windows updates, just wipes all these settings out on you occasionally. If you use the user one that has user to the left of it and edit that one, it tends to be the most resilient and remain like without having Windows, through no fault of AccuWare, Windows will sometimes come in and just wipe all these settings. So you got to get this set to their page size properly. You also got to set graphics dithering to none here. And you'll notice these are set this way on the other computers that they have. And then go to General and go to Preferences and go to Page Setup and do the same thing here. That should inherit into there, and it does on certain manufacturers' printer drivers, but it doesn't always do that. So I have to go in twice and touch both places under both Preferences and under Properties, Printing Defaults. Okay, I start with Printing Defaults, and I hope that inherits into Preferences, but it doesn't always do that, so you got to make sure on the way out. So that sets up their Zebra printer for them. I sometimes use the Seagull Scientific Zebra driver. You can use the plug-and-play driver that Windows will install, the Z Designer driver. You can use either one of those drivers. Both will work. So hope this helps. Again, you can reach me at the phone number I gave you. I'm going to post this video up for you guys to use today. That's pretty much everything I know that I can think of proactively. If something else doesn't work, I can reactively react to that. If you get an error or something, I can try to help you over the phone with that. Otherwise, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to remote in. I'm going to be here at our office on Central Time until about 11 o'clock Central Time. Okay, that's pretty early your time. So that's, if I had had more notice, I would have tried to make myself available to schedule this. But thanks.